episode number 4. You are listening to the More Than a Lawyer podcast with your host, Janine Esbrand. I'm here to help lawyers and mums to thrive in their careers and motherhood. I share tips, strategies, and inspirational conversation with awesome women to help you reduce the struggle in your juggle. Hello and welcome to the show. If you have ever thought about changing career tracks, this episode is for you. My guest today is going to speak to us about her transition from her Navy career to running her own virtual assistant business and being a mum of 3. We also talk about making time in your schedule for what is important by meal planning and getting intentional with your time. Without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Danielle Roberts. I just want to welcome to the show, Danielle. Please, can you just share with our audience a bit about yourself? Introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and so much fun to chat with you. I'm Danielle. I am the owner of Legacy Creative Company. I'm a virtual assistant, and I also have packages where it's like life organization. So I like to help women organize their life. And as a VA, I found that it's just a blessing to be able to use my organizational skills and my other administrative skills to work with women. Moms especially is kind of my forte since I am a mother of 3. That's been helpful to kind of find my niche and realize this is where I want to be at and who I want to work with right now.
Yeah.
So I'm married. I've been married for 6 years now, which is crazy. Time flies.
Yeah.
So I have my 3 kids are going to be 5 on July 4th, 3 on June 17th, and then I have a 9-month-old who was born in August.
Oh.
So I am busy. I'm also taking some college classes to work on my university degree, and
wow.
That's me.
You are doing lots of things.
A lot. There's been a lot of transitions, so I definitely can understand where your listeners are coming from.
Yeah, definitely, because our listeners are women that are going through different types of changes, so changing careers or starting a business or just entering into motherhood. So from what you've just said, there's so much that we can learn from you. And it's I love the fact that you've got your VA business, but you've really you're really using your skills and understanding what your strengths are and being able to use that organizational skill set. That's awesome. Can you share with us a bit about how you do that? Because I'm sure there's women that are just like, oh my gosh, I need to be more organized. So can you just share with us some of the things that you put in place in terms of what works for you, but also what works for some of your clients?
Yeah, so my first spot that I usually start is having a planner or a diary, as the British call it. I find that it's best to write down what's happening during the day, what is coming up, and that way you know what to look for. My favorite that I use right now is the Emily Lay Simplified Planner, and it's great because it's got the full month-long view, and then it's got the day-to-day broken down, so it's by hours, and then you have a to-do list as well on the other side. So you know, okay, I have this going on at 10 o'clock, but I also have this, and this due. Mm-hmm. So for instance, today, I have, the interview, and then I had some quizzes due for my class and homework, and then it's my mom's birthday.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, I know what my day is going to look like. I have it scheduled out, and I know where I need to put my resources because time is very precious, especially when you're going through a transition. There's a lot going on. Having 3 kids, holy crap, there's a lot going on. So knowing how I'm allocating my time is very important to me. Another way that I do that is by meal planning. And meal planning is essential for me in running my household because if I go to the store and I'm just picking up a couple of things, I don't I'm not using my time well. Like if I can go to the store and buy what I need for, 2, 3 days, like meals for the whole week, depending on the freshness of the produce and
Yeah.
all that, then if I've got it all set out for the week, I know what I'm going to eat, what I need to buy, and I can use my time to the best of my ability. And then my kids are really good. So we usually hit up the store on like Monday morning or something. And I'll have planned out my meals. Sunday is my meal planning day. Saturday, Sunday are my meal planning days. So I get all the food that I need. And then my kids and I go to Target, or, our store here, and we get what we need.
Okay.
And they know that that's what we're going to be doing because I tell them either the night before or I tell them that morning, and they understand like, hey, we're going to go shopping, and we just get it knocked out. And it's funny because my kids have started, like, they know that I have it planned out. So they have started to ask, okay, what are we doing tomorrow? What are we doing today? Are we going somewhere today? And so it's really fun because they're part of the process.
Yeah.
And those are like the two biggest things I find. And then not overscheduling yourself.
Yeah.
That's a huge one for me because I like to take on a lot and keep busy.
Yeah.
And my husband jokes that stress is like the thing that I enjoy the most because I constantly am like in a place where I'm putting myself under stress. But when you overcommit, you're spreading yourself so thin. And one of the things that I've learned and have really focused on this year is setting intentional goals to not over extend myself. So setting limits, saying no,
Yes.
putting boundaries in place so that I am able to give everything that I'm working on a part of me and I'm not too spread thin.
Yeah. That's really important. I think saying no is something that a lot of us struggle with, and that's one of the things I talk to my clients about, in terms of figuring out what is actually really important to you, because sometimes other people's priorities come into our space, and then we feel like we just have to say yes, 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 but it's not necessarily a priority for us. So being able to say, actually no, I can't commit to that, and just being okay with saying no. And if you're upfront and honest, people are generally okay with that. It's when you try and commit and then at the last minute you have to bail out because you can't do everything. Someone's going to be more upset with that than if you just at the get-go said, I can't fit it into my day. So yeah,
definitely.
I definitely relate to being able to say no and just being okay with that. It's fine, just say no.
Yes, it's tough though.
It is hard.
I've the last few weeks I've been realizing that I need to make sure that I'm cutting down on my planning and my time with clients because I'm in a transition myself with my husband's job and then being in school, and so my time has been more limited, and so I've been having to say no to clients.
Yeah.
And it's tough because it's like, okay, I would love to work with you, but I don't have the time.
Yeah.
And even though they understand it, and there's plenty of other VAs that they can work with, for me, it's been difficult to lay those boundaries.
Yeah.
But I know it's the right thing, so that's what I have to stick through. And I want to give quality service to the people that I work with, and I can't do that if I'm overextended.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's good that you've taken that approach. Like, there's a reason for it at this time, and it might only be for a short time while you're doing, your studies, and then you can get back up to full capacity with clients. But yeah, definitely something people should take on board. Okay, so let's talk a bit about your kind of transition from the Navy, because it's like when I found out from you that you were in the Navy and your husband was there too, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So how do you go from being in the Navy to being a VA? That's like chalk and cheese.
So in the Navy, my husband and I met when we were both in the Navy, and then he got out when our second kid was born, back in 2013. So he's been out for about 3 years.
Okay.
And then I got out last summer in July of 2015. So we didn't both get out at the same time.
Oh,
We
wow.
had talked about it and decided that was not a smart choice.
Mm-hmm.
Going from both of us full employment to neither of us full employment was not good. um, and in the Navy, I did administrative work. I was in
Okay.
charge of the Command's volunteer program.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was orchestrating 1,800 people, hours for, how many ever people, setting up different events. And so it very much correlated with the administrative stuff that I like to do with
Okay.
being a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
And when we were in, let's see, when we were in Hawaii, I started Legacy Creative Company in December of 2014. And it was through talking with a friend and realizing that I really enjoyed helping small business owners because she herself is a small business owner.
Okay.
And so we we were sitting and just talking and I was giving her suggestions and then kind of on the way home I was like, I really enjoy doing this. Like this is something that I could see doing. And more of like the small business coaching and strategy.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I started the company like within the next few days. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And then at the same time, it started to hit me, well, I can't do small business strategy and coaching until I figure out how to run a small business.
Yeah.
And so I started looking at what was available and found that virtual assisting was something that I could do while I was still in the Navy. And so when I got out, I had my son right after I got out. So it was at like a couple months old that I was really ramping up my business
Yeah.
and able to take what I had learned in the Navy and just the organizational skills and time management and put it to practice with my VA work.
Yeah, I love that you've taken what you learned in the Navy and all of that experience that you gained in your time there, and now you've put it into your business. Because I think a lot of people, when they're looking at career change, they have a very much a black and white view. So they think, oh, I've trained as a lawyer, I've trained as an accountant. Like what else could I do? Instead of looking at the actual skills that they've gained and what they enjoy doing and thinking how can those skills be transferred to another industry or another way of working or building a business. So yeah, I think it's really important to not necessarily look at the title, but look at what you actually do and what you enjoy doing
Yes.
when you're
So if
looking at
there's
change.
most definitely, if somebody's looking at changing a career, it's really, really good to write down what they enjoy about it, what they enjoy about their previous career, or what they believe that they'll enjoy about their next career, and
Yeah.
see if they can like rate the strengths or just give more of an idea of what it is that they want to move into.
Yeah.
For me, I really enjoyed the administrative stuff, like I said, and working with people.
Mm-hmm.
I've always really had a passion for working with women, especially. And so it was fun to see, okay, I can take those passions, those things that I enjoyed in the skill sets and just shift them over.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing different things, but it's always important to keep in mind that even if it's a job that you hate, there's still things that you enjoy or still things that you're good at, and then you can move those over.
Yeah.
And it's not like there's fluidity in motion and everything. And even if it's something that's not a skill that you're using in your current job, it might be something that you learned when you were a teenager.
Yeah.
And picking up like, okay, I can take whatever skill it was that I learned in my first job, like, customer relations or something, and move it into what you want to go into.
Yeah. That's great advice. So what would you say then in terms of your transition have been your any challenges that you faced? So we all face challenges, and sometimes we're in a place where we're going through something and we feel like, I'm the only person dealing with this, or like, how am I going to get through? And so it's always good to hear from other people, what challenges they faced and how they overcame them. So could you share with us a bit about any that you did?
We moved from Oahu, Hawaii to Wisconsin And at the same time, I was 36 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
And yes, so like I said, I got out of the Navy and I had my son straight away. Um, so we lived in my parents' basement for a couple of months while we were looking for a house to rent and making sure our finances were good. Um, and then my son was born 3 weeks after we moved. And so we had just bought a minivan and we're like, okay, he can come now. Like we've got enough seats in the car. Um, so there were a ton of challenges in that with not only the emotional challenges between moving, because moving is a huge stress,
Yeah.
and having a job change is a huge stress. And then adding another little life form to something that you're trying to take care of, like they're all huge. And really staying grounded in why it was that I wanted to do what I wanted to do was the biggest motivation.
Okay.
My kind of background in transitioning was I wanted to have more time for my family and be the type of mother that I wasn't able to be while I was in the military,
Okay.
just because I was getting possibly looking at deployment. And I was like, I can't leave my kids. I had thought that I could, but then after getting into motherhood, I realized that that wasn't something that I could just up and leave my kids for 9 months.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of great and wonderful women and wonderful mothers that have that ability, but that's not me. And so having that why it was that I was transitioning from the military to, I didn't even know how it was going to work out to own my own business. And then having my husband move with me and kind of follow me, that's a lot of upheaval. And I wanted to make sure that you, like, as you're going through challenges, you really have to focus on, even if it's a small dot in the far distance, like that light shining.
Yeah.
And that's what it is that you're transitioning for.
Yeah.
And my challenges. So I now kind of base everything that I'm doing on, and even with work too, this is one of the things that I've had in the back of my mind as I'm like saying no to people is I want to be there for my kids. I want time and the ability to be there with my kids. So that's my why.
Yeah, and it's so important to be able to step back and think, what is my reason now, or what is important to me now, because things shift. I know for me, before I had my son, I was like, yeah, I can do this. I was working as a lawyer full time, and I was like, yeah, I'll have my son, I'll have my year off, and then I'll just come back and carry on.
Yes.
But actually, when it happened and I had him, I was like, no, this is not going to work. I can't go back to working how I used to work. I feel different. I am different. I want to be around
Right.
for him more. I want to make sure that I'm present. And actually, that's not as important. The work isn't as important to me as the time that I spend with my son. So I think it's important as well to just give yourself space to make that change, have that change of mind, because you might be in one stage before motherhood, or even at the beginning of motherhood, and then you might evolve and change, and it's okay to then take things in a different direction. But like you said, having that, okay, this is what's important to me now, is like, yeah, you need it.
It is. And priorities change too. I mean, you you never know what's going to happen to change your priorities.
Yeah.
And that's the realization of I need to have something that's getting me through these challenges, this transition, this all this stress and anxiety that came in place with like moving our whole house at hold in a couple of weeks. It took a while for me to realize, okay, this is why I'm doing it, and I need to have that reason laid out. And I think it was the Boss Mom book that really helped me understand, okay, I need to have my answer in place for why I'm doing this.
Okay.
and why is it aligning with what I want that's causing me to make these changes.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Dana Malstaff's book, The Boss Mom, was it Guide to Raising Your Family and
Family.
Nurturing Your Business or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that's that was really really helpful in pinpointing for me what it was that I was doing and holding on to the good reason why I was making the changes.
Yeah. That sounds. I haven't read that book yet, and I want to read it because I've been listening to her podcasts and they're just really great and really
Mm-hmm.
inspirational. And so I'm gonna grab that book and I'm gonna put the link to it in the show notes for our
Yeah,
listeners.
too. It's a good read. Even like if you're not a mom yet, or if you're moving into motherhood,
Hmm.
um, even if you don't own a business, there's she's got a lot of good introspective principles that you can glean from reading through there.
Awesome. I'll check it out. So we talked before about like tips that you would share with mothers who are going through a change, and I really liked some of the things you said about comparison and remembering kind of when you're looking at other people, you don't necessarily see the negatives. You just see the positives because that's what people present. Can you talk a bit more about that and your view around that?
Um, it's really, really difficult to raise kids in this day and age and have a business in this day and age with social media showing the best in people's businesses,
Hmm.
and the best in people's lives. Like, even for me, I use my social media and I try to be real with people. Like, I
Yeah.
want to be authentic. And so you'll see last weekend I was cleaning my daughter's room and there was a pile of laundry and a pile of trash, and that's me. Like, that's life. Like, my house isn't gorgeous. It's not a styled, beautiful house. Um, but that's really easy to forget when you see the styled pictures and the pretty parts of people's businesses.
Yeah.
And you just have to remember that what you're looking at is the end result,
Hmm.
and what's happened is all the behind the scenes.
Hmm.
So, I can take a pretty picture of my living room once I clean everything up, but that's not real.
Because
Like,
you had to
it's
clean
all
it
the
all
junk
up.
goes back.
Yeah.
Yes. It all goes back. And so it's it's just really important, because if you start comparing what you're doing or what you're seeing to what's going on in your life, you're going to be so unhappy,
Hmm.
because it's not like that.
Yeah.
Like, my house, my house is never going to be perfect. I've just come to that understanding because I've got three
Three
kids.
kids, three young
Three kids.
kids.
Yes. There's toys all over. And, I don't have time to clean like a regular person might have time. Um, but I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with the fact that it's going to be a little bit cluttered, but that means that I'm living life to the fullest,
Yeah.
and I'm allowing my kids to play and to explore and to learn and build themselves up to be the best that they can be. And I don't want to have, if my kids were to live in like a styled house, they couldn't have that.
Yeah. Because you were like, don't
And
touch that, don't touch that. Oh
yes,
no, you're gonna get it dirty. Oh no, ah, ah, ah. It's constantly like hovering over them, like just
exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
And that's not happy for anybody. So,
yeah,
um, just just keep that in mind. Like, the end result always looks pretty, but what do you want to have in the midst of the chaos
yeah.
that that's going to let you live life to the fullest?
Yeah, that's really good advice. The other thing I've heard that kind of links with that is people. Someone said, don't compare your chapter 1 with someone else's chapter 20. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at someone's life, you're just like, oh, they have it all together, but they might have been doing that thing, whatever it is, for a very long time. So they've learned how to get it all together, but you're just starting out. So how are you gonna be there?
And like you said, people don't show everything on social
No.
media. They just, create all the beautiful images and show their best selves. And so, but it's crazy how we forget that. And you can be sitting
hmm
having a bad day, and then you decide to scroll through Facebook or through Instagram, and then see how wonderful everyone else's life looks, and then you finish that period of time, and then you're just like, oh, my life's so boring, or oh, I need to, and it's just not realistic. So
No.
it's awesome that you're, on your platforms, you're trying to be open with people and real about what it really is, because I think more people should do that.
I think so. And I strive to be different. I strive to be that encouraging. I actually have a mission statement for my social media,
Hmm.
and it's to be encouraging and empowering and authentic as possible.
Okay, that's awesome.
And so that's very much like I will show you how dirty my house is. Like I'm gonna say like, hey, doing the dirty dishes today, like not fun, but my family needs to eat.
Yeah, yeah,
And so it's good to have that. And my challenge is for people that are listening to break with the perfect.
yeah.
Everything doesn't have to be pretty stock images or stock photos or just right lighting, everything perfect. Like, yeah, that's good to look at, but it's not real.
Yeah,
And do we want to be our real selves, or do we want to be a copy of who we think everybody wants us to be?
yeah. That is an awesome. Yeah, I love this. I love it. That's inspiring for me in itself. It's just remembering that you are the only version of you that has ever and will ever exist. So just own it and just be it, and then just share, your personality with the world, because they can't get it from anyone else. So there's no point
Right.
trying to copy other people.
Most definitely.
Oh, awesome. Well, this has been so good to talk to you, and I just really feel like people will take away a lot from what we've talked about, and people might want to know more about you and your service that you provide in terms of your virtual assistant business. So can you share with us where people can find you, and yeah, just a bit more about your company?
Sure. You can find me at legacycreativeco.com. And I'm on Instagram mostly. I love Periscope, but it's hard for me to find times to actually
I love
hop on
it
without my kids
too.
being in the background. And I do Periscope, like kids in the background, crazy. The other day I was on there, and my son had potty training. He's gonna be 3 soon. And potty training, and so I was like in the middle of a Periscope, and my daughter was like, Amos has to go to the bathroom. And so I'm like, Amos, do you have to go to the bathroom? And, and so I'm like in the middle of a Periscope broadcast and checking to see. I'm like, this is me. This is real life, guys.
Love it.
So the Instagram is Legacy Creative Co.
Mm-hmm.
And then Periscope is actually the hashtag that I use for everything, which is create one legacy with the number one.
Mm-hmm.
And then Facebook, I have a Facebook page, which is Legacy Creative Co. And otherwise, you can check out my personal profile,
Okay.
which is a lot of fun and just randomness. And Danielle Roberts. So you can get a link from my Legacy Creative Co. page
Okay.
to that.
And just before we end, then, I just want to, I always have in the back of my mind, what legacy am I leaving, and what am I creating? So the fact that your company is legacy, I'm just really interested in the name and how you got there.
No, that's exactly what it is.
Oh, okay.
But I'm really bad at naming things, like even blog posts. I'm like, what name? Like, it's a good thing I don't have problems naming my kids, because if I have any more kids, that would be a difficult thing. Legacy Creative Company came from, I was toying around with, what do I want to do? What do I want to be? Because your business name says so much about who you are personally.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was creating it, it really was, I want to leave a legacy that is positive and encouraging for my kids and those that come after me. and being creative and creating the legacy in different ways. Kind of, my friend actually helped me name it. The one that I was like helping, she helped me get my business going, because I was trying a couple different things, and she's like, "What about this?" And so that's the name that stuck. And
Yeah.
I actually have a blog post in my blog that's called Legacy and Heritage, and really looking at what are we doing in the present day to leave a legacy and set an example in our heritage that we're leaving for our kids and those that we interact with.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. When I came up with the name, there's a lot in the name, because I came up with Lightbox Coaching because I just really felt like everyone has potential, but sometimes people just need a light to be shone on that potential, and then they need the tools to kind of unpack that potential so that they can get to where they want to be. So that's where I came up with Lightbox. And so I just, whenever I hear a name that seems like it has some kind of story behind it, I always am like, what, how did you get there?
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. But yeah, okay, so people can find you, Legacy Creative, and I just want to say thank you so much for today and for being here, because it's been awesome chatting with you. And yeah, I hope that people will check you out more, because I'm sure you've got so much more to share and to give to people.
Awesome. Yeah, so good talking with you.
I really hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I especially like Danielle's approach to being real and open about her life as a mum. I would love to hear from you what you found the most useful from today's show. So head over to the Lawyer Mums Network at www.lightboxcoaching.com/network and share your insights with me. It would be great to connect with you. If you enjoyed the show today, it would be great if you could leave a rating and review on iTunes so that more lawyers and mums just like you can learn about this show. That brings us to the end of today's show. I look forward to catching you in the next episode. The More Than a Lawyer podcast features music from Ben Sound.